Eldritch chanting echoed through the ancient temple as reality itself tore open, and Emperor Janus felt his blood run cold. The tyrant's flagship shuddered violently around him, alarms screaming and lights flashing crimson. On the view screen, sensor feeds showed three gargantuan entities materializing above the embattled planet, mind-shattering monstrosities from beyond the veil of sanity, radiating pure malevolence. Humanity had done the unthinkable. Faced with the imminent obliteration of their core worlds by the unstoppable Akamarian war machine, Earth's desperate leaders turned to an ancient alien tome uncovered by the brilliant xenoarchaeologist Philip Richardson. Within its pages, Philip discovered rituals to summon cosmic horrors, weapons of such unfathomable power that many argued they posed an even greater existential threat than the Akamarians themselves. But with annihilation looming, Philip and his old friend Admiral Jenna Singh gathered a rogue team of scientists and spec ops soldiers to carry out the forbidden rites behind enemy lines. Risking their lives and souls, they spoke the eldritch words and spilled sacrificial blood, breaching the barriers between dimensions to unleash the apocalyptic entities. The consequences were instantaneous and catastrophic. Akamarian battle groups burned, continents cracked, and suns went dark as the entities vented eons of pent-up fury. To Janus's despair, his mighty empire, which once enslaved the galaxy, crumbled to ash before his eyes. Yet even Earth's cities blazed as the cosmic monsters, lost to reason, attacked indiscriminately in their blind rage. Reality itself unraveled as the entities clashed with Akamarian doomsday weapons never before unleashed. Philip realized they had awoken a force that would scour all life from the universe in its thirst for vengeance. With the fate of existence hanging by a thread, an unthinkable alliance must now be forged between bitter enemies as human and Akamarian alike fight to survive. The flames of apocalyptic war had been ignited, and there was no going back. As the galaxy burned, Philip Richardson watched in horror as the eldritch entities tore through space, obliterating entire star systems in their wake. The abominations he had unleashed cared nothing for the petty conflicts of mortals. They existed only to destroy and unmake. Philip knew that unless the impossible happened, unless humanity and the Akamarians could set aside their ancient enmity and stand together, all life would be extinguished in the entity's apocalyptic rampage. Philip opened a secure communication channel to Ambassador Ethan Sinclair, his old friend and humanity's most skilled diplomat. Ethan's holographic image materialized before Philip, his face haggard but his eyes alight with commitment. "Philip, what have you done?" Ethan asked, his voice strained. "The reports coming in, the destruction—" "I had no choice, Ethan," Philip said heavily. "It was this or extinction at the hands of the Akamarians. But now we face an even greater threat, one neither human nor Akamarian can overcome alone." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "You're proposing an alliance with the Akamarians after all they've done?" "What choice do we have?" Philip demanded. "Unless we stand together, we all die. Ethan, you're the only one who can make this happen. You must go to the Akamarians, forge an alliance, appeal to their survival instinct. It's our only hope." Ethan was silent for a long moment, the weight of the galaxy pressing down upon him. Finally, he nodded. "I'll do it. I'll go to Zakaris Prime and petition Emperor Janus himself if I have to. If there's a way to make this alliance happen, I'll find it." "Thank you, my friend," Philip said. "And Godspeed. The fate of everything rests on your shoulders now." As Ethan's image faded, Philip turned back to the apocalyptic vista dominating the view screens. The entities carved bloody swaths through the stars, heedless of the countless lives they destroyed. Philip had opened the gate to hell itself, and now all creation would pay the price. Ethan boarded a sleek diplomatic courier ship, the Emissary, and set course for Akamarian space. As the Emissary leapt into hyperspace, dodging the anarchy consuming the space lanes, Ethan pored over data on Akamarian culture and politics, searching for any leverage he could use in the coming negotiations. Zakaris Prime loomed before him, a world of towering basalt spires and roiling lava seas. The Emissary sliced through the turbulent atmosphere, anti-proton beams lashing from planetary defense batteries. Ethan broadcast his diplomatic credentials on all frequencies, praying the Akamarians would honor the ancient laws of parley. After an agonizing delay, the Akamarians granted him leave to land. The emissary settled on the obsidian landing pad amid the jagged spires of the Imperial Palace complex. Armored Akamarian warriors surrounded the ship as Ethan descended the boarding ramp, his hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. "I am Ambassador Ethan Sinclair of the Terran Republic," he called out, his voice echoing across the landing pad. "I come bearing an urgent proposal for Emperor Janus himself. The survival of both our kinds depends on it." Harsh Akamarian voices barked orders, and the guards parted to reveal a towering figure in ornate battle armor. His craggy face was a mass of scars, his eyes burning with barely restrained ferocity. "I am Commander Thaxos of the Praetorian Guard," the Akamarian growled. "The Emperor has agreed to hear your pathetic plea, human. But be warned, if you waste his time with trickery, I will gut you myself." Ethan met Thaxos's fiery gaze without flinching. "Commander, I assure you, my proposal is quite genuine. For I have looked into the abyss, and I have seen that abyss look back. Unless human and Akamarian stand as one, that abyss will devour us all." Thaxos glowered but nodded curtly. He led Ethan into the depths of the palace, down vaulted obsidian corridors lit by guttering crimson braziers. They emerged into a vast throne room where Emperor Janus himself waited, seated on a throne of blackest marble. The Emperor was an ancient Akamarian, his once mighty form ravaged by time and care, but his eyes glittered with fierce intelligence. "Speak, Ambassador," Janus rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "I have seen the reports of these abominations unleashed by your kind. Give me one reason why I should not obliterate your worlds in retribution." Ethan stepped forward, meeting the Emperor's burning gaze. "Your Imperial Majesty," he said, bowing deeply, "I will give you not one reason, but two. Firstly, these entities are not bound by human will. Even now, they ravage our worlds as readily as yours. We are both victims of their wrath. And secondly," Ethan continued, "I propose an alliance between human and Akamarian to confront this existential threat. Apart, we will surely perish. But together we may yet have a chance to save both our peoples and the galaxy itself." In the stunned silence that followed Ethan's words, the galaxy held its breath. The fate of worlds would be decided here, in this moment, by the choice of an Akamarian emperor and the desperate hope of a human diplomat. But even as a fragile flicker of hope dawned, dark forces gathered, whispering of betrayal and apocalyptic conspiracies. The greatest battle was yet to come. Emperor Janus leaned forward on his obsidian throne, his ancient eyes boring into Ethan. "An alliance? With humans?" He spat the word as if it tasted foul. "You expect me to believe this isn't some ploy?" Ethan stood his ground. "Your Majesty, I speak the truth. These entities threaten all life, Akamarian and human alike. We must unite or perish." A tense silence filled the chamber. Commander Thaxos shifted, one clawed hand resting on his disruptor pistol. Suddenly, the palace shook. Alarms blared. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a colossal entity tearing through Akamarian space. "Impossible," Janus breathed. "Our defenses are useless against them," Ethan finished, "as are ours, but together, we might stand a chance." Janus's face hardened. "Very well, human. What do you propose?" "A joint mission," Ethan said, "to the entity's realm itself." Thaxos snarled. "Madness! No ship could survive such a journey." "The Shadowblade could," a new voice interjected. A female Akamarian strode into the throne room, her armor bearing the insignia of a high-ranking officer. "Our new stealth vessel, equipped with dimensional drive technology." "Admiral Zora," Janus acknowledged. "You vouch for this ship's capabilities?" Zora nodded curtly. "It's our best chance, Your Majesty." Janus considered for a long moment, then turned to Thaxos. "Commander, you will accompany the human on this mission. Find a way to stop these abominations. Thaxos bristled but bowed. As you command, Emperor. Within hours, Ethan found himself aboard the Shadowblade, a sleek vessel of black metal and pulsing energy conduits. Thaxos stood at the helm, manipulating holographic controls. Entering dimensional shift in 3, 2, 1. Reality twisted. Ethan's stomach lurched as the ship plunged into a maelstrom of impossible colors and geometries. Through the view screen, he glimpsed vast shapes moving in the void, their very presence an affront to sanity. By all the hells, Thaxos muttered, his usual bravado shaken. They navigated the nightmare realm, dodging tendrils of cosmic energy and shards of broken space-time. Ethan's mind reeled, assaulted by visions of worlds long dead and civilizations that had never been. There, Thaxos barked, pointing to a structure that seemed to fold in on itself, defying the laws of physics. Alien ruins. Maybe we'll find answers there. As they approached, Ethan saw glyphs etched into reality itself, pulsing with eldritch power. The Logos key, he breathed. It has to be. Back in normal space, Admiral Jenna Singh stood on the bridge of her flagship, surrounded by a motley fleet of human and Akamarian vessels. Beside her, Admiral Zora studied tactical displays. The entities are converging on the maelstrom, Zora reported. Our trap is set. Jenna nodded grimly. All ships, prepare to engage. We just need to hold them off long enough for Ethan and Thaxos to complete their mission. As the battle was joined, Emperor Janus paced in his war room on Zakari's Prime. Suddenly, the doors burst open. General Zaxxon stormed in, flanked by heavily armed troops. What is the meaning of this? Janus roared. Zaxxon's eyes gleamed with fanatical zeal. I'm taking control, old man. The Akamarian Empire will harness the power of these entities, not cower before them. You fool, Janus spat. You'll doom us all. As Zaxxon raised his weapon, a blur of motion intercepted him. Captain Kira, Janus's bodyguard, struck with lightning speed. The throne room erupted into chaos as loyalist and rebel Akamarians clashed. In the twisted realm beyond, Ethan and Thaxos stood before the alien temple, its non-Euclidean architecture making their eyes water. They had retrieved fragments of the Logos key, but assembling them seemed an impossible task. Ethan's communicator crackled. Philip Richardson's voice came through, distorted but urgent. Ethan, I've made a breakthrough. The entities, they're not evil. They're trying to restore balance. As Ethan absorbed this revelation, a massive tendril of otherworldly matter lashed out at the Shadowblade. Thaxos cursed, bringing the ship's shields online. We're out of time, the Akamarian growled. Whatever you're going to do with that key, human, do it now. Ethan looked at the fragments in his hands, then at the cosmic horror unfolding around them. The fate of two civilizations, of reality itself, hung in the balance. With trembling fingers, he began to assemble the Logos key. With trembling fingers, he began to assemble the Logos fragments, their alien geometries shifting and realigning in ways that defied comprehension. As the final piece clicked into place, a surge of otherworldly energy pulsed through Ethan's body. Thaxos grabbed Ethan's shoulder. Human, what's happening? Before Ethan could respond, his consciousness expanded outward, merging with the vast cosmic tapestry around them. He sensed Thaxos being pulled along, their minds intertwining with the entities that moments ago had seemed incomprehensible monstrosities. Images and concepts flooded their shared awareness. Eons of cosmic history, the delicate balance of universal forces, and the ancient Akamarian Empire's fateful decision to enslave these cosmic custodians. They're not destroyers, Ethan's thoughts reverberated. They're caretakers, guardians of equilibrium. Thaxos's mental voice, tinged with shock and shame, replied, My ancestors, what have they done? The entities communicated in concepts rather than words, their intentions becoming clear. The enslavement had disrupted the cosmic order, and now they sought to rectify it by eliminating the Akamarians and humanity, the new dominant power that perpetuated the imbalance. Ethan projected his thoughts outward, a desperate plea. Wait, we can change, adapt. Our species can learn to coexist, to maintain the balance you seek. Thaxos's consciousness joined Ethan's, their combined will carrying the weight of two civilizations. I swear it upon my honor as an Akamarian warrior. We will right the wrongs of our past and forge a new path, together. For an eternal moment, the fate of galaxies hung in the balance. Then slowly, the entities began to withdraw. Their final message resonated through Ethan and Thaxos's minds. A temporary reprieve, a chance to prove their words true. But should they fail, cosmic judgment would be swift and final. Reality snapped back into focus. Ethan found himself on the floor of the Shadowblade's bridge, Thaxos hauling him to his feet. Alarms blared as the ship's systems struggled against the dimensional forces, threatening to tear it apart. "We need to get out of here," Thaxos growled, his fingers flying over the controls. "Hold on to something." The Shadowblade lurched, plunging back through the maelstrom of impossible colors and geometries. Ethan clung to a bulkhead, his mind blown from the cosmic revelations and the ship's violent re-entry into normal space. As the turbulence subsided, Ethan's communicator crackled to life. Admiral Singh's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Ambassador Sinclair, do you read? The entities are retreating, but we have a situation on Zakaris Prime. General Zaxxon has launched a coup against Emperor Janus." Thaxos snarled, thumping his hand against the console. "That treacherous worm! We must return immediately." The Shadowblade streaked towards Zakaris Prime, its dimensional drive allowing it to outpace even the fastest warships. As they approached the Akamarian homeworld, the scene that greeted them was one of chaos. Rebel and Loyalist ships exchanged fire in orbit, while explosions blossomed across the planet's surface. Ethan's gut clenched as he realized the fragile alliance they had forged could shatter before it even began. "There," Thaxos pointed to a tactical display, "the Imperial Palace. If we can reach the Emperor, we might be able to turn the tide." As they maneuvered through the aerial battlefield, a massive explosion rocked the palace's central spire. Ethan and Thaxos shared a grim look, knowing that time was running out. The Shadowblade touched down on a plaza littered with debris and bodies. As they disembarked, a group of battered Praetorian guards led by a fierce female Akamarian approached, weapons raised. "Stand down," Thaxos bellowed. "I am Commander Thaxos of the Imperial Guard. We bring news that will end this madness." The female warrior, Captain Kira, Ethan realized, lowered her weapon. "Commander, thank the old gods. Zaxxon's forces have the Emperor cornered in the throne room. We're barely holding them back." "Then we'll break through," Thaxos growled, unholstering his disruptor pistol. "Ambassador, stay close. Your words may be our only hope of salvaging this mess." They fought their way through twisting corridors, Loyalist and Rebel forces locked in bitter close-quarters combat. Ethan's diplomatic training had never prepared him for this, but he stayed close to Thaxos, ducking energy blasts and helping where he could. Finally, they reached the massive doors of the throne room, dented and scarred by weapons fire. With a roar, Thaxos and Kira led the charge, bowling over the rebel guards in a fury of blazing weaponry and brutal hand-to-hand combat. Inside, they found Emperor Janus backed against his throne, surrounded by a dwindling circle of loyal praetors. Facing him stood General Zaxxon, his armor stained with blood, a cruel smile twisting his features. "It's over, old man," Zaxxon sneered, raising his weapon. "The Akamarian Empire will—" "Stand down, Zaxxon!" Thaxos's voice boomed across the chamber. All eyes turned to the new arrivals. Ethan stepped forward, his hands raised. "General, please. The entities have withdrawn, but our real trial is just beginning. If we don't unite now, everything, Akamarian, human, and more, will be lost." Zaxxon's eyes narrowed. "What madness is this? You expect me to believe—" But at that moment, the chamber's hollow displays flickered to life. Admiral Singh's face appeared, alongside that of an Akamarian officer Ethan didn't recognize. "Your Majesty, General," Singh said, her voice tight with urgency. "The entities have retreated, but they've left us a choice. Unite or face extinction. We need to stand together, now more than ever." The Akamarian Admiral, Zora, Ethan recalled, nodded grimly. It's true. Our fleets fought side by side against the cosmic horrors. We've seen what we can accomplish together. Emperor Janus straightened, his ancient eyes blazing with renewed purpose. You see, Zaxxon, the path forward is clear. Will you stand with us in this new era, or cling to the old ways and doom us all? For a long moment, the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Ethan held his breath, acutely aware that everything they had fought for could still crumble in an instant. Zaxxon's eyes darted from face to face, his weapon wavering. With a guttural cry, he lowered his blaster and dropped to one knee. I submit to your wisdom, Emperor, Zaxxon said, his voice thick with emotion. Forgive me. I only sought to protect our people. Emperor Janus stepped forward, placing a hand on Zaxxon's shoulder. Rise, General. Your passion for our empire is not misplaced, merely misdirected. We have much work ahead of us. As the tension in the throne room dissipated, Ethan's communicator buzzed. He stepped aside to take the call, his eyes widening as he listened. Your Majesty, Ethan addressed Janus, his voice urgent. We've received word from Earth. The Galactic Security Council is calling for an emergency summit, a galactic concordance. They want representatives from all major spacefaring civilizations to convene and discuss our encounter with the cosmic entities. Thaxos frowned. A gathering of that scale has never been attempted. The logistics alone— We have no choice, Janus interrupted. If we are to prevent the entity's return and forge a lasting peace, we must act decisively. He turned to Zaxxon. General, I need you to secure our borders and maintain order while we attend this concordance. Can I trust you with this task? Zaxxon nodded solemnly. You have my word, Emperor. Within days, the Shadowblade was en route to Azuria, the neutral world chosen to host the unprecedented gathering. Ethan stood on the bridge beside Thaxos, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace. I never thought I'd see the day, Ethan mused. Humans, Acamarians, and who knows how many other species coming together like this. Thaxos grunted. Don't get your hopes up, human. Old hatreds die hard. This concordance will be a powder keg. As if to punctuate Thaxos's words, a priority transmission came through. Admiral Singh's hologram appeared, her face grim. Ambassador, Commander, we have a situation, she reported. A militant human faction led by Admiral Wallace Rickard is denouncing the concordance. They're calling for humanity to harness the cosmic entity's power instead of compromising with our former enemies. Ethan's stomach churned. That's madness. They have no idea what they're dealing with. It gets worse, Singh continued. We're receiving reports of unrest on Zakari's Prime. A hardline faction led by Lord Soxton is attempting to seize power from Emperor Janus. Thaxos smacked his fist against the console. Soxton? That snake has been waiting for an opportunity like this. The Shadowblade dropped out of hyperspace, the gleaming azure world of Azuria filling the view screen. Hundreds of ships from dozens of civilizations swarmed in high orbit, a testament to the monumental nature of the gathering. As they made their final approach, Ethan's mind raced. The fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance, and he knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The concordance would either usher in a new era of cooperation or plunge the galaxy into chaos. The Shadowblade docked at Azuria's orbital station, a massive structure of gleaming alloys and pulsing energy fields. Ethan and Thaxos disembarked, joining the throng of diverse beings making their way to the Grand Assembly Hall. Ethan's attention was drawn to a commotion near one of the docking bays. A group of stern-faced humans in military uniforms were engaged in a heated argument with Azurian security forces. That's Admiral Rickard's delegation, Ethan murmured to Thaxos. We need to keep an eye on them. As they entered the vast assembly chamber, holographic displays flickered to life, showing real-time updates from across the galaxy. One screen displayed ominous footage of warships gathering over Zakari's Prime. A hush fell over the crowd as a striking female Acamarian in an ornate military uniform strode to the central podium. Her presence commanded attention, her eyes blazing with drive. Esteemed delegates, she began, her voice carrying across the chamber. I am Commodore Falah, and I come bearing grave news. Lord Soxton has seized control of the Acamarian homeworld. Emperor Janus is imprisoned, and loyalist forces are scattered. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembly. Thaxos tensed beside Ethan, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. Fala raised her hands for silence. I have defected from Soxton's ranks to warn you all. He plans to crush this alliance before it can form, to dominate the galaxy through conquest alone. As the chamber erupted into chaos, Ethan felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Philip Richardson, his face etched with worry. Ethan, Philip said urgently, I've been in contact with Captain Kira. She's leading a strike team to rescue Emperor Janus, but they need our help. Ethan looked from Philip to Thaxos, then back to the roiling crowd of delegates. The Concordance was on the verge of collapse before it had even begun, and now they faced a war on two fronts, against Soxton's forces and the militant human faction. We need to act fast, Ethan said, his mind already formulating a plan. Thaxos, can you rally any loyalist Acamarian forces still in the area? Thaxos nodded grimly. I'll do what I can. As the three of them huddled together, plotting their next move amidst the growing tumult, Ethan knew that the coming hours would determine the fate of not just their civilizations, but the entire galaxy. The cosmic entity's judgment loomed over them all, a silent reminder of the stakes they faced. The assembly chamber erupted into chaos as Commodore Fala's words sank in. Ethan's mind raced, trying to process the implications of Lord Soxton's coup on Zakaris Prime. Before he could formulate a response, the floor beneath them shuddered violently. Incoming fire! An Azurian technician shouted, her tentacles flailing in alarm. Multiple warships decloaking in orbit. The chamber's holographic displays flickered, showing a terrifying sight. A massive Acamarian fleet materializing around Azuria, weapons already charging. Panic gripped the delegates as the first volley of energy beams lanced down from the sky, shattering buildings and vaporizing swaths of the pristine Azurian landscape. Admiral Singh's voice crackled over the emergency comms. All delegates, evacuate immediately to the Basilisk. We don't have much time. Ethan grabbed Thaxos's arm, shouting to be heard over the cacophony of alarms and panicked voices. We need to help coordinate the evacuation. They pushed through the crowd, guiding delegates towards the emergency shuttles. Fala joined them, her military training evident as she barked orders and maintained some semblance of order amidst the chaos. As the last shuttle prepared to depart, a massive explosion rocked the spaceport. Debris rained down, cutting off their escape route. Ethan, Thaxos, and Fala found themselves trapped, along with a handful of other delegates and Azurian security forces. The Basilisk is breaking orbit, an Azurian guard reported, his compound eyes reflecting the fires now raging across the cityscape. They've left us behind. Thaxos growled, his massive frame tensing. Then we fight. We find another way off this rock. Fala nodded grimly, unholstering her disruptor pistol. I know these Acamarian tactics. Soxton will send ground forces to secure key locations. We need to move. They made their way through the burning city, ducking into cover as Soxton's dropships screamed overhead. The sounds of battle echoed from all directions. Energy weapons, explosions, and the screams of the injured and dying. As they sought shelter in the ruins of an Azurian communications hub, Ethan's communicator crackled to life. Philip Richardson's voice came through, strained and urgent. Ethan, are you there? Thank God. Listen, we've got another problem. Admiral Rickard's faction has made their move on Earth. They're arresting officials, seizing military assets. Admiral Singh is barely holding them off. Ethan's stomach dropped. This can't be happening. The Concordance is falling apart, Philip finished. But that's not all. We've uncovered Soxton's true plan. He's after some kind of ancient Acamarian superweapon, something powerful enough to control the cosmic entities themselves. Thaxos's eyes widened in recognition. The Void Caller, he breathed. An abomination from our darkest age. We swore never to use it again. Fala leaned in, her voice low and intense. If Soxton gets his hands on the Void Caller, he won't just control our empire. He'll have the power to bend reality itself. A nearby explosion rocked their shelter, showering them with debris. Through a newly formed gap in the wall, they saw Soxton's troops advancing, their energy weapons cutting down anything in their path. "We need to stop him," Ethan said, coughing through the dust. "But how? We're trapped here, and Earth is in chaos." Fala's eyes gleamed with purpose. "Not all hope is lost. I have loyalists scattered throughout Soxton's forces. If we can link up with them, we might have a chance." Thaxos nodded, hefting his massive disruptor rifle. "Then let's move. We'll carve a path through these traitors and take the fight to Soxton himself." As they prepared to venture out into the war-torn streets of Azuria's capital, Ethan's thoughts turned to the cosmic entities. With Soxton seeking to control them and Rickard's faction pushing for the same on Earth, he knew the temporary armistice that had kept them at bay was on the verge of shattering. The fate of not just their civilizations, but of reality itself, now hung in the balance. As Ethan followed Thaxos and Fala into the chaos of battle, he couldn't shake the feeling that their actions in the coming hours would shape the future of the entire galaxy. The ground shook beneath their feet as another volley of energy beams struck nearby. Ethan, Thaxos, and Fala sprinted through the debris-strewn streets of Azuria's capital, dodging falling rubble and pockets of intense fighting. Suddenly, the sky above them erupted in a blinding flash of light. Ethan stumbled, shielding his eyes. When his vision cleared, he gasped in horror. A massive, incomprehensible shape materialized in low orbit. It defied description, a nightmarish amalgamation of geometric impossibilities and writhing, ethereal energy. The entity Dreadnought had arrived. "By the void," Thaxos breathed, his normally stoic demeanor shaken. "They've returned." Fala's communicator crackled to life. "This is Admiral Singh aboard the Basilisk. All Allied forces converge on these coordinates. We're making our stand here." As they raced towards the rendezvous point, Ethan's mind reeled. The cosmic entities were back, their temporary armistice shattered. But how? Why now? They reached a fortified command post where Admiral Singh and a haggard group of officers from various species huddled around a holographic display. Singh's face was grim as she addressed them. "Rickard's scientists on Earth?" She spat the name like a curse. "They've been experimenting with entity technology. Their recklessness has drawn them back to our reality." The hologram showed the entity Dreadnought moving inexorably towards Earth. Streams of smaller entity craft poured from its impossible geometries, engaging the panicked human defense fleet. "Rickard's coup is complete," Singh continued. "He's seized control of most human military assets. And now—" She paused, her voice heavy with disbelief. "He's launching a boarding action against the entity Dreadnought." Ethan's jaw dropped. "He's insane. He can't possibly hope to—" "Our sensors show his strike teams have penetrated the outer hull," Singh interrupted. "We can't let him gain control of that kind of power. Ethan, Thaxos, I need you to lead a counterboarding operation. Stop Rickard at all costs." As they prepared for the desperate mission, Philip Richardson's hologram flickered into view. His face was covered in grime and sweat, but his eyes shone with excitement. "I've found something," he said breathlessly. "Ancient Azurian schematics, a weapon of unimaginable power, designed to confront the entities directly. It could be our only chance." Singh nodded grimly. "Get that data to our engineers. We'll need every advantage we can get." Ethan, Thaxos, and a hand-picked strike team boarded a stealth shuttle, rocketing towards the looming monstrosity of the entity Dreadnought. As they approached, Ethan's stomach churned at the sight of the impossible angles and non-Euclidean geometry of the vessel. They docked near a breach created by Rickard's forces, stepping into a corridor that seemed to twist and shift around them. The laws of physics themselves seemed to warp and bend. "Stay alert," Thaxos growled, his massive frame barely fitting in the alien passage. "We don't know what—" His words were cut short as reality itself seemed to lurch. Ethan felt a sickening sensation of falling, spinning, being unmade and remade. When the vertigo subsided, he found himself in a vast, incomprehensible space. Gone was the corridor of the Dreadnought. They stood on a plane of swirling, prismatic energy. Above them, below them, In every direction stretched an infinite vista of stars, galaxies, and things Ethan's mind couldn't begin to process. And before them, a presence, not a being, not a construct, but a vast, unfathomable intelligence that permeated every atom of this impossible realm. The God mind. Ethan fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the sheer enormity of what he was experiencing. The God mind's thoughts crashed over him like a tsunami, a torrent of information and emotion beyond human comprehension. Through the maelstrom of cosmic consciousness, Ethan glimpsed the truth. The entities sought not destruction, but transformation, a higher state of existence for all life in the universe. But the actions of humans and Acamarians had forced their hand, making annihilation the only path they could now perceive. As Ethan struggled to maintain his sanity in the face of this revelation, Thaxos's voice cut through the chaos. "The Azurian weapon," he shouted, his words barely audible over the roar of cosmic forces. "We can use it to shatter their physical forms, then harness their essence, create a new reality, a fusion of our existence and theirs." Ethan's mind raced, grasping at the possibility. It was insane, impossible, and their only hope. They had to get back, to warn the others, to set this desperate plan in motion before it was too late. As if sensing their intent, the fabric of the God-mind's realm began to twist and tear around them. Ethan reached out, grasping Thaxos's arm as the void yawned beneath their feet. They had one chance to save not just their civilizations, but the very nature of existence itself. The universe trembled on the precipice of transformation as Ethan and his allies prepared to make their final, high-stakes endeavor. The void yawned beneath Ethan's feet, threatening to swallow him whole. He clung desperately to Thaxos's arm as reality warped around them. In a nauseating instant, they found themselves back aboard the Basilisk, sprawled on the cold metal deck. Alarms blared. The ship shuddered violently. "Status report!" Admiral Singh's voice cut through the chaos. Ethan struggled to his feet, his heart pounding from the transition. "Admiral, we've got to act fast. The entities, they're not what we thought." He relayed their encounter with the God mind, each word feeling inadequate to describe the cosmic vastness they'd witnessed. Singh's expression hardened as she absorbed the implications. "Then we have no choice," she said grimly. "Prepare the Azurian weapon." On the main view screen, the entity Dreadnought loomed. Streams of impossible geometry poured from its surface, reality buckling in its wake. Ethan watched in horror as Rickard's ships launched a desperate assault against the cosmic horror. "Philip," Singh barked into her communicator, "tell me you've cracked those schematics." Richardson's hologram flickered to life, his eyes wild with excitement and fear. "I've got it, Admiral. Transmitting firing sequences now." Thaxos growled, his massive frame tense. "We must act quickly. If we hesitate—" The ship rocked violently, throwing Ethan against a console. Through the viewports, he saw flashes of weapons fire as Commodore Fala's fleet engaged entity craft swarming from the Dreadnought. "All ships, defensive formation Delta?" Fala's voice crackled over the comms. "Protect the weapon platform at all costs." The next few minutes passed in a blur of frantic activity. Ethan found himself at a tactical station, coordinating with Fala's ships as they fought to keep the entities at bay. The weapon platform hung in space before them, an artifact of cosmic power that could reshape reality itself. "Energy buildup detected," an officer called out. "The weapon is powering up." Ethan's hands flew over the controls, rerouting power to the Basilisk's shields. The air crackled with tension as the Azurian weapon reached critical mass. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. A lance of pure energy erupted from the platform, so bright it seared Ethan's retinas even through the ship's filtered viewports. It streaked across space, impacting the entity Dreadnought in a cataclysmic explosion of light and impossible geometry. For a moment silence reigned, then chaos erupted. The Dreadnought shattered, fragments of reality tearing apart in its wake. But something was wrong. The energy patterns weren't stabilizing as they should have. "No!" Thaxos roared, his eyes wide with horror. "The harmonics are off!" Ethan's stomach dropped as he realized what was happening. The carefully calibrated frequencies needed to contain the entity's essence were fluctuating wildly. On a secondary screen, he saw Rickard's ships fleeing the expanding shockwave of uncontrolled cosmic energy. "It's a runaway reaction," Singh breathed, her face ashen. "We've torn a hole in the universe itself." The view screen showed a nightmarish vista of destruction spreading across space. Entire star systems winked out of existence as the cosmic rift expanded. The fabric of reality itself seemed to be unraveling before their eyes. "All ships, emergency jump," Singh ordered. "Get clear of the blast radius." The Basilisk lurched as its engines engaged. Through the chaos, Ethan caught glimpses of other Allied ships scattering in all directions. Fala's fleet vanished in a flash of FTL drives. A final transmission from Philip cut off mid-sentence as the weapon platform was engulfed by the cosmic maelstrom. As they hurtled through hyperspace, Ethan clung to his console, his mind racing. They had shattered the cosmic entities. Yes, but at what cost? The entire universe trembled on the brink of oblivion. And somewhere out there, amidst the cosmic carnage, Admiral Rickard and his coup forces were consolidating their power on Earth. The battle lines that had seemed so clear mere hours ago now blurred into insignificance in the face of universal Armageddon. Ethan met Thaxos's gaze across the bridge, seeing his own fear and drive mirrored in the Akamarian's eyes. Whatever happened next, their fates, and the fates of all sentient life, were now inexorably intertwined. The Basilisk dropped out of hyperspace, sensors immediately scanning for Allied signatures. As the results came in, Ethan's heart sank. They were alone in an unfamiliar star system, cut off from their allies and facing a universe tearing itself apart at the seams. Seams. The ship's sensors struggled to make sense of the cosmic maelstrom engulfing them. "We've got an incoming transmission," an officer called out. It's from the weapon platform." Ethan's head snapped up. "Impossible! It was consumed by the blast." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a haggard Philip Richardson. His lab coat was singed, and blood trickled from a gash on his forehead. Behind him, sparks flew from overloaded consoles. "Basilisk, do you read?" Philip's voice crackled with static. "The weapon, it's unstable. I'm attempting to contain the reaction, but..." The transmission cut out as another tremor shook the ship. Admiral Singh leaned forward, her nucleus tightening as she gripped the command chair. "Plot a course back to the weapon platform. We can't abandon Philip." As the Basilisk maneuvered through the cosmic debris field, Ethan's tactical display lit up with urgent alerts. Entire star systems were vanishing, consumed by an expanding wave of entropic energy. "My God!" Thaxos rumbled, his eyes fixed on the horrifying spectacle. "The very fabric of space-time is unraveling." The weapon platform came into view, a twisted hulk of metal barely recognizable as the sleek construct it had once been. Tendrils of impossible energy writhed around it, threatening to tear it apart at any moment. "Philip!" Singh called out as they re-established communications. "What's happening?" The scientist's face was a mask of fierce dedication. "The purge went wrong. The entity's essence is destabilizing reality itself. I'm attempting to create an artificial singularity to contain the damage, but I need more power." Singh nodded to her engineering team. "Reroute all available energy to the platform. We'll buy you as much time as we can." As the Basilisk's crew worked frantically to assist Philip, Ethan's comm unit crackled to life. It was Commodore Fala, her voice tight with urgency. "Ethan, we've got incoming bogies. Rickard's forces are making a push for the singularity." Ethan's blood ran cold. "Rickard? But how?" "He's consolidated power on Earth," Fala explained, "and he's changed. The cosmic energies have warped him. He's trying to harness the singularity for himself." The tactical display showed Fala's battered fleet forming a defensive perimeter around the weapon platform. Ethan coordinated with her, directing the Basilisk's remaining firepower to key choke points. Hours blurred together as they fought a desperate holding action. Rickard's ships, twisted into nightmarish configurations by his deranged experiments, launched wave after wave of attacks. Just when it seemed they could hold out no longer, Philip's voice rang out triumphantly. It's done! The singularity is stable. We can use it to rewrite the cosmic matrix. But victory was short-lived. A massive energy surge from Rickard's flagship threatened to destabilize the delicate balance Philip had achieved. Thaxos stood, his massive frame radiating commitment. I know what must be done. Before Ethan could protest, the Akamarian was gone, leading a strike team to interface directly with the singularity's energies. What followed was beyond comprehension. Ethan caught glimpses of Thaxos wreathed in impossible light as he channeled his very essence into the cosmic forces. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Then in a blinding flash, everything changed. Ethan blinked, disoriented. He found himself still on the basilisk's bridge, but everything felt different, new, reborn. As his eyes adjusted, he saw a transformed galaxy spread out before them. Where once there had been chaos and destruction, now there was harmony and potential. Fala's voice, filled with wonder, came over the comms. Ethan, what just happened? He had no answer, but as they took stock of their new reality, one thing became clear. Thaxos' sacrifice had reshaped the very foundations of existence. The real work was just beginning. They would need to explore this reborn universe, to understand the changes wrought by cosmic forces beyond their comprehension. And somewhere out there, the remnants of Rickard's madness still lurked, a shadow on the edge of their newfound hope. Ethan squared his shoulders, ready to face whatever challenges this new cosmos might hold. The journey ahead would be unlike anything they had ever experienced. Ethan gazed out at the transformed galaxy, his mind struggling to process the magnitude of change. The harmonious new reality birthed by Thaxos' sacrifice stretched before him, teeming with possibility. Yet even as hope blossomed, the first seeds of discord took root. Captain, we're receiving distress calls from the outer colonies, reported Lieutenant Chen, her fingers flying over the comm panel. It's not good. Ethan's stomach nodded as he absorbed the incoming data. Reports flooded in of violent clashes between human separatists and Akamarian settlers. Fires raged through fledgling hybrid communities, carefully cultivated bonds of trust shattered by fear and hatred. On Earth, Jenna Singh's face flickered onto the main view screen, lines of exhaustion etched deep. Ethan, we're losing control. The Neo-Terran purists are gaining traction, spreading xenophobic propaganda faster than we can counter it. And the Akamarians? Ethan asked, dreading the answer. Jenna's expression darkened. General Frax's Black Raptors have retaliated. They're calling for blood. Ethan's fist clenched. Everything they'd fought for, everything Thaxos had sacrificed himself to create, was unraveling before his eyes. A priority alert flashed across the tactical display. Fala's voice cut through the din, tight with urgency. Ethan, we've detected anomalous energy readings from the Meridian Rift. It's like nothing we've ever seen. On screen, Ethan ordered, his blood running cold as the image grit. The Meridian Rift pulsed with otherworldly power, cosmic forces twisting reality itself. And there, at the heart of the maelstrom, a familiar silhouette took shape, the unmistakable form of Admiral Wallace Rickard's flagship. Impossible, Ethan breathed. But the evidence was undeniable. Somehow Rickard had survived the reforging of reality, and now he stood poised to harness powers beyond comprehension. All hands, battle stations! Ethan's voice rang out, galvanizing the crew into action. Set course for the Meridian Rift. We end this now. As the basilisk surged forward, Ethan's mind raced. The reborn universe teetered on a knife's edge, with Rickard's mad ambition threatening to plunge all of existence back into chaos. They hurtled towards the cosmic nexus, knowing that the fate of reality itself hung in the balance. Behind them, a galaxy torn by resurgent hatreds. Ahead, a deranged tyrant on the verge of apotheosis. Ethan steeled himself for the confrontation to come, acutely aware that every decision, every action in the next few hours would resonate across the cosmos for eons to come.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.